Everyone, welcome to our next episode of Boss Talks. I am here with the amazing ladies of 10K Projects, the label. And ladies, let's go ahead and introduce yourselves. Molly, do you want to start us off?
Sure. My name is Molly McLaughlin, and I am the head of international at 10K.
Thank you. And Danielle, how about you?
Hello, my name is Danielle Price, and I'm the Senior Vice President of Business and Legal Affairs for 10K.
Thank you, Danielle. All right, Hannah.
Hi, I'm Hannah Haynes, and I'm the head of publicity at 10K Projects.
Thank you all for being here with me today. So why don't you each tell us a little bit about your career path and how you got to where you are?
Sure, maybe I'll start. So, SVP Business and Legal Affairs, I'm a lawyer, and I run the legal department for 10K. And essentially, I started in law school a while ago. And, I knew when I was in law school that I loved the entertainment law classes. I love music law. I loved entertainment. I loved trademark, copyright. And I also just had a personal passion for music. So I decided I was going to merge these two things. There was such a thing as a music attorney, and my dream was to work for a record label. So when I graduated from law school and passed the bar, I actually ended up getting my first job as an attorney at a record label, a major label, Warner Music Group. And I was a baby lawyer, so I wasn't on the front lines doing deals. I was doing, starter legal work. You just kind of read things for the big lawyers and, you do legal research. But it was really cool because it gave me this overview of just sort of like the basics on how the music industry runs. And I was there for a few years. I really loved it, but I wanted to kind of challenge myself a little bit more. And I decided to make the leap and go into private practice, which was the flip side of things, because I went from representing the record label to now representing artists who usually fight with the record label from time to time. And I was at a firm where we only represented music artists. I love hip hop, so I developed our hip hop division at the firm. And I did everything there from negotiating record and publishing deals to negotiating sponsorships and endorsements to random stuff like, immigration law things that come up and, tax law things that come up. And I really, really loved it. But I really had this goal at some point to circle back and come back into the label system. And this amazing opportunity with 10K and Elliot came up. And it was something that I just couldn't say no to. And so I then came back in-house to the label, and I worked for this like crazy, amazing, energized, cutting edge label that does not just record deals. Like I don't sit and do record deals all day. We do publishing deals. We do merchandising deals. We do these innovative things. We're thinking about getting into NFTs now. And so that's where I am. That's kind of a snippet of my career path. And I love what I do, if you can't tell.
Amazing, Danielle. Thank you.
Han, go ahead.
Okay. So my journey in the music industry definitely started out from my passion for music. I went to university and studied culture and politics, and a lot heavier on the culture than the politics. That was kind of what I was drawn to. And I was really interested in like a lot of the independent British record labels at the time. And so I literally just wrote to XL Recordings in London and said, hey, I'm a huge fan and would love to offer my services. And they wrote back. It was unexpected. And that's kind of where my journey started. And it was somebody who I worked for at XL Recordings who told me, I think you'd be really good at publicity. And I was like, I don't know what that is, but I think you're so cool. So I'm like, 100% I'll do that. So that was then in the New York office. And that person who was my boss and a mentor at the time really helped me to get connected with various independent labels and PR firms out here in LA. So I moved here after university and started working at small indie labels and PR firms. And I think similar to what Danielle was saying before, just started to realize that I wanted more. I wanted to work with artists with larger profiles. And so through a connection from university, got my foot in the door at Interscope. And I was there for 5 years, started as an assistant and then coordinator, and just built up my own roster of artists, and was just kind of traveling around the country with them, setting them up with interviews and TV performances and photo shoots. And then I again was like, let me switch up a little bit. And then I heard from this incredible independent label called 10K. And I thought, why not go full circle and go back to the independent model, take everything that I've learned at this, huge machine, and work with these incredible, passionate young artists and give them everything that I've learned and help them build up their profiles and their audiences. So that's what I'm doing now.
Thank you, Hannah.
I guess I'll go next. I have known Elliot since we were 18 years old. We went to the same university, Northeastern University. I graduated a little bit before him and moved back to London, where I pursued a career in advertising at Condé Nast. And whilst I was there, and I was offered a position, and I called up Elliot and I said, what's going on? How are you? I think you know someone that I might, be potentially working for. I wanted to know what you think of it. He goes, I don't know, but quit your job and why don't you come and help me build a record label? And obviously I thought he was crazy, and it took a couple of months for me to realize that he was actually being serious and not joking. And I came out here, I remember, for a week, and just to sort of see what he was talking about was real. And at the time, we barely had an office. It was really just Elliot walking back and forth on calls in his apartment. And I got to meet, Jacqueline and some members of Caroline, now known as Virgin Music. And I ended up saying, okay, you know what, if I'm going to do this, why not do it? Why not take the risk and do it? What do I have to lose? So I packed my bags, quit my job, moved out here. And I was one of 3 employees at the time. It was me, Elliot, and Sam. And we had 2 artists at the time, and we were also trying to build an actual record label when, I wouldn't say any of us, Elliot knew what he was doing, but really it was, okay, we've got to figure this out. We've got to learn, what we're doing here, and we need to figure out every area of the business with limited help and limited connections. We were very, very much new to the game. So, when I think you're thrown into the deep end, you don't really think, you just kind of do it and you figure it out one way or another. And that's what we had to do. I've held multiple roles at the company. I've explored many avenues. I've had to, at one point I was artist relations, another point I was operations. So I've had to really learn it all, which I'm so super grateful for, because when you kind of know every area of the business, it really helps you understand one specific area. And I actually highly recommend everyone to kind of, learn as many areas of the business as they can, because it really, really helps you. in whatever you choose to do in the industry. So that's what I do, and that's what I did. And now I run the international side, which I absolutely love. It's definitely, you know, my favorite thing I've done so far, and you know, hopefully I continue down this road for many years to come. We'll see.
Amazing. You are all so accomplished, and I'm so happy that we have you here to hear from you about your stories. So going off of that, what have been some of your favorite moments in your career?
Should I go?
Go ahead, Hannah.
Go, Hannah.
I was just kind of thinking about what Molly said before and really resonating with being thrown in at the deep end. I've definitely, even though I previously was at a major label with a structure, I think the team that I was in very much had that mindset, and it just helped me just grow and learn and build and just feel confident. You know, like, a mistake sucks, but you're never going to make it again, especially when it involves artists and, you know, contacts and whoever else is. I just wanted to comment on that. But some of my biggest successes as a publicist, you know, your first magazine cover, your first late night TV performance, your first New York Times article, those are the things that really stick out to me as moments where I have been working so hard to land something for an artist, believing in them, you know, 110%. And just like when that magazine, you see it on the stand, there's no other feeling like that. And just managers asking, can you send 20 copies for the mom really wants some, the cousins really want some. It's an incredible way to recognize talent, and, you know, you have it forever, really. So those are some really successful moments. And I think also just building relationships, especially with the artists that you work with and their management teams, and just getting into a flow. And once you find that, it's the most rewarding thing ever. And you just feel like everyone that you're working with, you're in sync with, and whatever comes up, you guys can tackle it together and just get through anything and really accomplish whatever we set our minds to. I think that's also been a really a moment that stands out as a big success in my career.
Amazing, Hannah.
Go ahead, Danya. I want to hear.
I think for myself, a couple of things stand out. So I think one of the biggest moments professionally for me was when I was in private practice, and we had a client at the firm who got caught up in a national immigration issue. And it was headline news on Super Bowl Sunday, like literally on CNN. They are running this story, and our client had been detained by ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, in Atlanta. And I happened to be there that weekend to meet with him on something. And so because I was there in Atlanta, even though the firm was based in LA, and I was the attorney at the firm that handled all of his matters, I ended up sort of being stuck in Atlanta for like 2.5 weeks, dealing hand in hand with his immigration counsel and the entire of this huge legal team that we brought in, everyone from an immigration team, a new immigration team, to we were consulting with the judge, and we had a criminal team, and we had a PR team. It was a massive undertaking. And at the time, the owner of the firm that I worked for, her part in all of this was to kind of deal with Congress and see behind the scenes if she could be help to him. And I remember at the beginning of the crisis, when like things were spinning out of control, I had never been in the middle of like a PR, thing like this. And the client is, detained and scared for his situation, and his family is freaking out. and we're all kind of at a loss, like, what do you do? And I remember my boss, like, literally 26 hours in, like, literally hands me the reins and says, listen, I need to deal with what we can do in Washington. I can't be on the ground. I'm literally turning this over to you. Trust your gut and go with it. And so I just remember being in Atlanta, and I'm literally the conduit directing, you know, a judge is calling me and asking me, you know, what is the direction? What are our next steps? And we have, you know, this immigration lawyer who was seasoned, you know, 20, 30 years in practice, who's leaning on me and asking me for input. And so I really had to just like trust myself. And it's kind of like what Molly was saying, like, you get thrown in, you're either going to sink or swim. And so throughout that process, I mean, we won. He ended up being released and we had a victory. But for me personally, it was not at all, yay, part of, you know, being part of a headline. I mean, you know, my name was, listed, mentioned in a New York Times article and again in Billboard, and that was super cool. But it was more about me as a professional, like what I learned from that experience, which was, you know, I felt more confident, I trusted myself, and it really just sort of reassured me that, like, hold on a second, like, I'm intelligent, I'm intelligent, I'm bold, I'm powerful, I'm a strong woman, and I can do a lot of things, and people really trust my judgment. And so I think from that time point, it's given me the extra boost in my professional courage. And I've always had a different sort of swag since then. So that was a big moment for me. And then I think, like Hannah said too, just as people in the entertainment business, like the first time I ever saw my name in liner notes, to me, that was like, wow, like this is real. Like, yeah, you're like, you know, because when you were, at least for me, when I was younger, you know, I used to see other people or other professionals' names in the liner notes, like, that's really cool. So things like that have also been important to me because it's a marker in my mind that, you know, professionally I'm growing and I'm hitting these milestones. So
that's a great story, Danielle. Thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, I think the biggest kind of moment that I had is actually happens all the time when I kind of take a second and someone's asking about 10K and how many people are there, and or if I'm meeting someone new who's onboarding in an international team or whatnot, and I have to explain, you know, 10K and the kind of history and who we have, and I go through it. I'm like, oh, we've gone from like half an employee to such a badass team in such a short period of time, and our roster is like incredible. You know, we went from 2 artists to having, you know, over 20 of like, you know, super talented, amazing, incredible artists. So to kind of take a step back and take a second to just look at how far we've come, and knowing that, you know, I was 23 when I decided to quit my job that I'd worked so hard to get, you know, at the time, and kind of just pack my bags and say, oh, I guess we'll see what happens. And just to kind of know that it paid off, and everything, all the blood, sweat and tears that we put in, you know, in the beginning years has really paid off, and we're absolutely killing it now. And it's just such a gratifying feeling, you know, whether I'm at 10K or whether I left, you know, whatever, just knowing that it's still there and it's like killing it is just such an incredible feeling. So I think that's definitely my biggest kind of success in my life, honestly, up until, you know, for now. But I think, you know, micro level, which isn't so micro level, but I think last year we got our first ever UK #1 with Lemonade. And, you know, when you grow up in England, and Elliot's from England, and it's been such an important market for us always, and it's a very difficult market to break. It's not easy. And to kind of, I received my #1 award, which you see growing up, all the artists holding and taking pictures with, and I have one with my name on it, which is like crazy. I think that was definitely the highlight of of kind of artist successes thus far, for sure.
Wow, thank you all. Amazing stories from each of you. So on the other side of that, what have been some challenges that you faced in your career, and how did you move past them?
I'll go. I'll share.
You go.
So I had to think about this. I think just naturally, I was trying to think of something that wasn't so, on topic right now, but I couldn't, I have to just be honest. But I think for me, just being an attorney and practicing at such a high level, and I'm a Black woman, that sometimes, while it is an amazing gift and I love it and I embrace it, it has been challenging at times when I'm dealing with closed-minded people who expect me not to operate at the same level as maybe a white man, or as maybe, even a white woman, for, example. And so I have noticed that I have had to sort of go the extra mile to show and prove that I can do great quality work, just as great, if not better, no matter my gender and my ethnicity. It's, disappointing and it's disheartening and it can be sad. But for me, I've made a really conscious effort to not make that the focus of my day in and day out. Even when I come across bigotry or sexism, to me, I look at it as whoever is on the giving end of that type of behavior, to me, it's, I'm sad for you. I'm sad that that is how your mind works. I'm sad that that is the world that you live in, where you see things that way. But for me, I'm so blessed, I'm so privileged. And the fact that I'm in this room with you, or I'm in this negotiation and I'm negotiating against you, this means that there are going to be many, many other women that come up behind me, and many, many other Black men and women that come up behind me that will then be negotiating against you or your junior in the future. So, but I think for me personally, that's sort of been the challenge, because in the legal profession, the number of lawyers, the number of minority lawyers is, this big, and the number of female minority lawyers in entertainment, in music, I'm one of a few. And so it just comes with general biases that are sometimes real biases. But, I think for me, it's about keeping positive and not letting that weigh on me or, deter any of the moves that I'm going to make professionally.
That's so powerful. Thank you, Danielle.
Yeah, wow. I don't even want to be the one to follow that.
That
was so good.
Yeah, that was really beautiful, Danielle.
So sweet.
When I was thinking about the response to this question, challenges, I think because the nature of my work is so public facing, a lot of the sort of challenges are out there for everyone to see. Artists maybe getting into trouble or that whole side of it. So I tried to think about challenges that are more like behind the scenes and day to day, which I thought could be interesting to share. And within publicity, a challenge that we face is the relationship between the media and the artist. And I think, especially say, creative direction is so front and center to what an artist is doing. And when we work with a magazine, say it's Fade or a Billboard or whoever it is, they have their own creative vision and their creative direction. And so trying to find a happy medium for a photo shoot, or the subject for an interview, or the location of a set or something like that can be tricky. And so I often play the role of middleman and, edging the artist a little bit closer in and edging the magazine. Like, could we use this photographer because the artist is comfortable with them, but we can keep your recommended stylist, kind of just continuously like massaging those relationships so that when we get to sets, everyone knows the expectations and everyone's comfortable and they're happy, and the artists can, shine as bright as they can, and the magazine can feel like we're on their side and it's a true collaboration. That's definitely kind of a challenge within my day-to-day work.
Thank you, Hannah.
Sure.
I mean, for me, I think my biggest challenge, and I feel like I'm repeating myself, so, whoever's watching this, feel free to skip this. But I think for me, my biggest challenge was really having to learn the industry from scratch and really on my own. we didn't have a big team where I had a bunch of people above me to help me out. It was really just like, this is what we have to do. I don't care how you do it. You need to figure it out and get it done. So I think, anything I did, anyone I spoke to which is, usually they had been in the industry for a minute, at least longer than me. I would ask them questions and whether it was, the attorney or whether it was accounting or whether it was, our distributors, it was really, I would have weekly one-on-ones with so many different people at the beginning where I would literally just sit and they would just talk at me and teach me stuff, and I'd be sitting there taking notes and highlighting, and I'd be going through recording agreements, and they'd be, our attorney would be teaching me, what this language meant, what this clause is, what everything meant, which was something that I knew. I'm not going to go into the legal side, but I find it really interesting, to learn about everything, and I think that also helps you like respect your coworkers and respect what they do, because I know, for example, I could never deal with, dealing with the press side of things and the craziness and having to balance all those, and making sure that the schedules are all done and, all of that. But I know I've done it, and I know like how stressful it is. And I can admire the fact that you successfully do that, Hannah or Danielle. Like, I know, you've gone to school for this, and you've like literally spent, a lot of your life studying this, and this has been your specialty for so long. And I can admire that, because that's something I would never, I could never do. It's something I could never sit and sitting and translating one clause of a recording agreement took me, an hour with an attorney on a phone, let alone, what you do every single day, which is like 50 times that. So I mean, definitely like learning everything was a challenge, but it was also definitely the biggest blessing for sure.
By the way, I tell Molly this all the time jokingly, but in a former life, in her past life, she was an attorney. I'm certain.
But like a little bit.
Why do you say that, Danielle? What traits does she have?
Just the way her mind works. I mean, sometimes Molly will call me or text me and there's a business issue we're talking about. And right away, like the way that she's jumping into action, I'm like, yeah, you're thinking like a lawyer. Like, go ahead. Do you want to run my department for me? I'm going to take a vacation. Can you hold it down?
No, you couldn't pay me enough money in the world. Elliot, if you're watching this, don't get any ideas. I'm not going into legal. But I think I definitely in a past life was like a litigator. Like I think I can hold an argument pretty well. I think.
It's a good trait to have in music, huh?
You have to be tough,
Yeah. Speaking of that, as you three are part of a very, very small group of women who hold such high up positions, right? The women who head up departments in the music industry, it pales in comparison to the men that hold these positions. What perspective do you think you have now that you've made it to such a high level? Is there anything that you would change about what you did earlier? Is there anything that you would tell young women who want to get to your level?
I mean,
This is a real...
Go ahead, Danielle. Go ahead.
No, go, Molly, go. Yeah.
That's what we were talking about. Like, you go. No, you go.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I'm a very competitive person just at nature, right? So, and I think, you know, but it's very different. I came from a business where it was majority females, and then at the top it was the men. So it was, everyone was a woman, and then all of the heads of departments were men. I think really coming into this, you know, you realize very quickly, gosh, there aren't a lot of women around, and there aren't, you know, I feel like, okay, you're not, it's not really that kind of we're together kind of attitude. And you kind of also feel like women are very conditioned to feel like there isn't enough room for them in the boardroom, right? Like there's not a seat for them at the table. And that's something that I learned very quickly. And Jacqueline Sarton was like you know, played a pivotal role in this lesson that I learned. But it was, you know, we're so much stronger together than we are apart and divided. And, you know, like we're, you know, we've got Danielle, Hannah, and myself, and we've got, you know, other women in the company. And, you know, when we all work together, we're very much a power team. And I think a lot of women, you know, don't have that mentality and have the mentality. And it's not really their fault that they don't think, you know, like that. It's not really their fault that they see it as a competition of, you know, I need to make it because if I don't, the girl next to me will, and I can't have that, you know. Like it's so important for us all to maintain the mentality of togetherness. And I really do believe that the music industry would be a better place for men and women alike, you know, if women maintain the mentality of being stronger together and bringing each other up. You know, I did this panel with you, Olivia, a year ago, I think, was it? Maybe less.
Wow. Yeah. Almost a year ago now.
Yeah. And I was, you know, very quick to be like, we should do a panel with, you know, with Danielle and with Hannah and with, you know, and with all the women of 10K, because, you know, it's like, I talk about myself, and I'm like, gosh, I work alongside these women who have so much to say and so much to share to people that watch these, and that want to learn, you know, and it's a gratifying feeling when you do work alongside women and you see, you know, them succeeding. Like, I love it when I see a press release of, you know, Danielle being a boss and, you know, whatever, like I get so excited because this is our team, you know, it's not just her and me. It's like, this is a team, you know, and their successes are my successes, and any female success in this industry is my success too, you know? So that's really like how I've learned to view, you know, being a woman in the industry.
That's amazing, Molly. And that's very true about you. Molly was very quick to say, let's get these other women on to the talks. And it just seems to be something you've really like adopted into your mentality. Yeah. And it's powerful. It's like you do that, and then maybe the women who come after you will adopt the same mentality because they see you acting that way. So it's really how the industry shifts.
Yeah. I noticed something that I think can be challenging for women as they sort of climb the corporate ladder in entertainment, but in music, but also really in any business sphere, is you being one of the only women in these, you know, senior positions or running divisions or running departments. I think there's often this challenge of, you know, am I being too, forgive my language, am I being too bitchy? Am I being too aggressive? Maybe I should, you know, am I being emotional, you know, or even this came up recently on social media, you know, on your personal page, you know, oh, I posted a pic. Were my shorts too short? Are people going to think I'm less smart and I'm less professional, you know, because I was, you know, out on the beach, you know? And so one thing that I think about, and I've tried to incorporate in my professional world and just in my school of thought as I continue to climb, is that, listen, we as women, we run the world, we make the world go round. And so we need to be our authentic selves, you know? And if that means on this Thursday, I'm feeling a little bitchy, well, guess what? I'm feeling a little bitchy, but I'm still gonna get this job done, okay? And if that means that, I want to be on my social media and show that I'm having a great time on Thursday with, my shorts, and they might be a little short for you, then I'm going to do that, because guess what? I still got the $3 million deal closed and on Thursday, But I think the point is, we need to just live in our skin, own it, feel comfortable. And I think as more women rise in the ranks and those doors are let open and more women are able to hold these power positions, I think that we will, as women, feel a little bit more comfortable in our skin, and we will be able to move in business as our authentic selves. But that's something that I've noticed I've made a conscious effort to do my best to be my authentic self and to not worry about in comparison to how a man would respond in this situation, but just instead, how would a great professional respond in this situation,
Wow, that is so important, Danielle. I feel like a lot of women watching this needed to hear that.
Yeah.
I love your authentic self, Danielle.
Oh, thanks, Anna.
It's really a pleasure to work with you.
Wait. Before you go on, I've been wanting to say this whole thing, and now is the perfect segue because Hannah opened the door, and I don't know if we're going to run out of time, but these women here, I adore them, and I so enjoy working with Hannah and Molly. Like, you ladies are professional, you're strong, you're so smart, you're so great at what you do under the immense pressure that you ladies are under and on a daily basis. Like, I can call you and ask you questions or, send you emails that need urgent input. And you guys are just amazing. And you have welcomed me into this company, Molly, because you've, been here since the beginning and have always, when I first started, Molly was the one that was like, came into my office on the first day and she gave me all the tips, and I was texting her like, what's this guy's name with the dark hair in this meeting? And then when Hannah came into the company, Hannah's like my little, secret weapon. I can always ask her for like PR stuff when, Elliot doesn't want to weigh in on something. I'm like, Hannah, what would Elliot do? What do you think he would want to do? So sorry to jump in, but Hannah opened the door for that. And I really just wanted to say that I thoroughly enjoy working with these two women, and I've learned so much from you, and I'm just grateful for you guys. So
bear in mind, all three of us tell each other how much we love each other all the time. Like, I feel like we're making this sound like we never say it to. I feel like we actually all tell each other like this kind of all the time. And it never gets boring ever.
Yeah, it's new to me, so keep it up, guys. We love it. We love that.
Now it's in the universe. It's in the universe now.
I love that. I think just it's hard to add to what you guys said, but I think just that, I have a younger woman working with me in the publicity department, and I just really try to encourage like positive reinforcement, actually say you did a good job on that, because that's something that in the past I felt like I haven't had and have been it doesn't always help me move forward, knowing if I'm doing something right or wrong. So, and saying you did that wrong, it's fine. Just, this is the error and that's cool. Like, let's get it right the next time. Just being clear and communicative and just letting her know that I want her to grow and learn and actually, not be in that position for the rest of her life. And there are opportunities down the line. I think that's something that I struggled with in the past, is just not really knowing what was ahead or if I was ever going to be able to get there, because I didn't really have that path or that positive reinforcement. So that's definitely something that I try and foster. And I think just fighting, just, what Danielle said before, whatever somebody said to me, sucks for you that's in your brain, like the comments and the lack of comments, the lack of being included, the lack of, getting looked past, sucks for them that they didn't get my ideas, just I'll give them to somebody else who wants them, probably a woman. So
That was
So
great, Hannah.
Just not giving up, you know, that I've had many tears and many just fought through a lot, and you got to keep going.
Wow, very powerful from all three of you. So before we wrap this up, can you each give us one quick piece of advice that you would like to leave young women in music with?
Gosh.
Hannah, you going first?
Oh, I was actually pointing down to you.
Oh,
I feel like you're most ready, Danielle. Like, I feel like you have it on the tip of your tongue.
I actually don't. Okay, so
I can go.
Okay.
I can go. I would say, remember the long road. You know, I think we get, especially with social media and just everything can be really quick. This artist explodes, they get signed. This, you know, kid from college is managing them, and all of a sudden they're on the cover of Billboard and this and that. Like, everything can seem very quick, and that you're missing out on something if you don't know somebody, or you don't go to a dinner or a show or whatever. It's the journey. It's the long road. It's not, you know, instant. And I think just remembering that and looking around you to see who are the women at that company, who are the women at this company, and what's their journey been, and just seeing, wow, it has been a journey, and they have put in the work, and they have, you know, had all these various different experiences that have brought them to where they are now. I think remembering that is key, to not get overwhelmed and feel disheartened because one thing didn't pan out the way you thought it was going to.
good.
I mean, you go first, Danielle.
So I was thinking, piece of advice that I would leave with ladies is to follow your passion. And if you haven't discovered your passion yet, then find it. It's so critically important. I think we spend in any given week the majority of our waking hours doing our job. And so if you can find a job that centers or involves somehow, some way your passion, it won't be work for you. And also, I think that you will excel sort of naturally. You know, I mentioned earlier on, for me, it was really important that I was a music attorney, not a film and TV attorney, not a criminal attorney, even though I feel, you know, very strongly about certain issues, but my passion was music. And I've learned that part of, I think, my success or my trajectory has been that I love what I do. So every day when I wake up and I start my workday, like, there's a bit of excitement for me because I'm passionate about this stuff. Every contract that I read, while it would bore Molly to sleep, I'm sure, to me, it's kind of exciting and interesting because I love this world of music. And I think that makes me, you know, when you have the hard days, because when you're working at a high level, you're going to have, like Hannah was saying, some tough moments. You're going to hit a wall, you know, you're going to have some bad days. But if you're working in your passion and you love what you do, those bad days aren't going to actually be as bad. And when you get your rest that night and get up and go the next day, like, you'll be recharged and easier to kind of excel and move through and help people. So find your passion, follow your passion. My advice.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Hannah and with Danielle. I mean, I think one thing that I feel like a lot of people see, you know, the music industry with some glamorous, fun, you know, industry where it's like, wow, you get to work with artists that you're like a fan of, and you know what more could you want? You're going to these events, and you're, you know, I think, yeah, there are the glamorous sides, but I would say for the most part, like, all three of us are you know, on the ground, getting into the nitty gritty, you know, having to argue and fight for whatever it is we're fighting for, and you know, having to stand up for you know, our artist or our team or what have you. it gets tough. It's definitely, I would say, one of the toughest industries. You could be in that is so deceivingly tough. It's not very glamorous in reality, and it's definitely not easy. As a lot of millennials have this kind of viewpoint that they want it and they want it quickly, and they think they're entitled to being X, Y, or Z, and they want to move up the ranks like this. It's, while I'm sure you're very capable, being patient is definitely the biggest thing that is so necessary, because the more patient you are, the more you actually start learning about yourself and what you want and what, and what's best for you, as opposed to thinking, and just kind of gunning for it, taking a step back and just being mindful and knowing that and trusting that whatever's meant to be will be. But as long as you're working your hardest and you're, doing the best you can do, that's all you need to know at the end of the day, and you'll get to wherever it is, you need to get to. So I think, patience is definitely something that we all have to mindfully think of and learn and practice. But it's definitely been useful.
Amazing. Well, thank you all so much for your beautiful pieces of insight and wisdom, and for your willingness to be here and share your experiences with young women in music.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us. Yeah.
Thank you, guys.